Okay, in this video, I have a question. Can you imagine what it must be like for someone who is a counselor or a therapist and the type of person they're dealing with are narcissists, or people with high narcissistic behaviors that haven't been diagnosed? But imagine some of them have been diagnosed. Can you imagine what that would be like to see that on a regular basis? As they would, whatever it is, wherever you live or however they do it, and to see all those delusional thoughts, all that manipulation, that I wrote it down, all the exploitation, how they throw their partner under the bus, and just seeing them, but not seeing the other one. Say something happened like at work, they were told they need to seek counseling, and so they do. But just imagine how difficult that would be. Some people say, oh, that you send a narcissistic person, they're not diagnosed yet, send a narcissistic person to a counselor that all they're going to do is to learn how to better manipulate. Well, no, let's think about this. Let me give an alternative view to this. Do they, aren't they being sent there because of that they're manipulative? Wouldn't they have already improved upon that and know what they're doing already? Why are they why are they there in the first place? Let's see. They already know how to do that. So, but anyway, okay. Now, another thing is, I've mentioned this recently, that they are way into some of them. Now, none of them do the exact same thing. Of course, they don't do the exact same thing because they're different people. But they do similar, something similar, like they exploit people. But it's not the same way, But some of them, they really are in, more grandiose, that they are so good, they are so this, that they don't need credentials, just because they think them, or they make up fake credentials, and they basically say they are what they are not, and they lie. They lie about who they are, and some of them, they just think that they should be associated with only those types, only the type that they claim they are, but they're not. But they want to be associated with the real ones, the actual ones. I'm sure that made sense somewhere down the line. Anyway, and I've already gone over this over the years. I'm looking at my notes, by the way, in case you're wondering why I pause every once in a while. Now, some of them I'm not saying all, I just said never. I don't say all. I generally don't say all. I don't tend to. All or never or any of that. I'm not that kind of thinker. But some of them, will say that they know better than the actual counselors. Some people, they know better than the actual therapist, psychiatrist even. And some of them, again, here's some of them, are life coaches. They call themselves life coaches. And they think that they know better just because they believe, someone will state it. I don't know if they actually believe it. They will state it. Remember, these are people who can lie. The more narcissistic people. They the counselors haven't experienced it, and they have, so therefore they know better. No, that's not how it works. It's just plain and simple. It's not how it works. Okay. And let's see. I'm going to look at my notes again. And I've said this before, that these are people who say that they have experienced it. Well, when you really think about people who are narcissistic, and they may have experienced it as a child, and they developed, nature nurtured both, and they developed to become narcissistic in the same family. There could be someone who went through abuse in the family too and did not. become narcissistic, okay, or histrionic, or any of those. They may more be that of a, well, they're suffering from complex post-traumatic stress disorder. Okay, anyway, and some of them may even call themselves empaths. I'm not so, when I first started hearing people talk about empaths, I was kind of interested in it. I could understand it, but no, too many, I'm not a type to believe in mystical, magical, and too many associated with that. So, no, I don't. Anyway, let me look at my notes again. Anyway, they say that they have experienced these life coaches who do this, not all of them, these life coaches who do this, say that they've experienced it, therefore they know better than the counselors and therapists, and on how to help people. Give them money, give them money, give them money, give them money. Okay, and they will help you. That's what they say. Now, how do you know that they're not that one in the family who was also mistreated and became narcissistic, histrionic, antisocial, or borderline in one of those? How do you know that person isn't the narcissist? How do you know that that person isn't the one who victimized others? And they're just manipulating to get money. Okay, can you verify their credentials? Can you verify that they went through it as a child, or they went through it at some point in their life and they healed themselves? Can you verify that? Didn't think so. Okay, now can you verify that the counselor has a license, a counselor or therapist? Can you verify that they are educated in this field and hold degrees, plural, and therefore they have the credentials? Yes, you can verify that. In most places, I don't know where you live, but I've always heard you can verify it. That they are, say, a licensed professional counselor, LPC. You can verify that. Now that means that they've been through the whole system, the whole long process. The education, it depends on what university they went to. If they have a pre-practicum and a practicum, or whatever they call it, wherever they are, that they've been through all of that, and they've had actual other LPCs monitoring what they do, and they discuss it with them. They teach them, the actual on-the-job experience, and now they're being checked, and do some slip through that are rather narcissistic? Of course. Okay. Is it most of them? No, I would say no. No, it is not. No. Okay, but what about these life coaches and relationship coaches and all that? Have they been through that? I've never heard of that, but some take classes, but do they actually hold a degree in the field? And they've been tested and gone through the process with people who are credentialed. Anyway, you see what I'm saying, right? Okay, now to get to this part of this hypothetical, fictional story, all of that. Toward this part of it's part of a series of hypothetical, fictional stories for entertainment only. Okay, now if I upload these other ones, I had moved them to a different channel, but it's about Sherri. She's a counselor. She's actually one that slipped through. Well, Sherri is not really narcissistic, but Sherri is very histrionic. Okay, I mean very histrionic, and she's not diagnosed with histrionic personality disorder, which is, in the cluster B, along with narcissistic personality disorder, borderline personality disorder, and antisocial personality disorder. Try saying that real fast. But anyway, in this part of her, her part, she works for a radio station, and she did a radio, of the county, Victorson County, and she did she had a talk show, and the ABC elders, when they were all split up into different sections, they are basically ones who are in the mental health care some way, somehow, mental health care field, or mental health field, mental help field. Anyway, they were in this some way, or they, or they were psychologists, sociologists, counselors, along this line, social workers, and they were, I say they were, but they kind of still are, and that they basically retired, or got to the point where they don't work as much, and they're considered elders in the community, in the county. Yeah. Anyway, the ABC elders, there's mainly two of them. They really took a dislike. They're a married couple, and they are counselors. They still hold their license, and but they're at retirement age, and they moved in, where many of the others, that they basically, the elders of the whole county, they basically run the county. They do everything legally, but they have their own kind of systems. Anyway, these ABC elders, they and like I said, the married couple, they really took a dislike for Sherri. So they they didn't want to fire her because they have such a problem with not having enough mental health care workers, as it is in the county. They didn't really want to fire her. They wanted to keep tabs on her, and they had different kinds of plans, like that they were going to make her run the, basically they can't make her do anything, of course, but to get her to run the shelter. But then they said, nah. So they came up with an idea eventually that maybe Sherri, that what they would do, the whole of the ABC, not just the couple, but the ones who can, do it legally, they would be the ones to do the intake for anybody looking for mental health care, like counseling, therapy, along this line. And then they would refer them to the appropriate one, for their situation. These are people who worked in it, retired, and all that. So they decided that that's what they were going to do. And they checked with their lawyers and put out, the advertisements for it legally through their lawyers, all that, what they needed to do, and to let people know in the county. But people in the county, this is kind of how they grew up. It is how they grew up, that they knew that the elders really basically ran the show, and they had for generations, since the early settlement of the whole county, the whole area. So it wasn't anything that would bother anybody, because this was just, they know that eventually they would become elders if they lived long enough, and then they would have that position too, you see. So anyway, they made that decision, and they decided, kind of, wouldn't this be the best thing? That Sherri, the one who is the counselor who is histrionic, that the married couple didn't like, that are counselors, they decided that they would refer everybody who had cluster B traits, characteristics, behaviors, any of that. They wouldn't diagnose them. They would just send them to Sherri. And she, not as like a couple, a married couple, or it would be individual. Each individual person. Like if it was something about marriage counseling, no, that one would, the one who's whatever cluster B behaviors has those, would be sent to Sherri. I think that's a good idea. Okay, now as for if it is a couple situation, a married couple or whatever kind of couple, or if it's like a family, whatever it is, that the rest of them, the ones who had been victimized, the ones who had been targets of in the relationship, they would send those to a woman named, she's an LPC, Charlene. Okay, Charlene has a whole separate story, so you'll have to stay tuned. Hopefully I'll put the ones I've already made on this channel, or at least some of them, and they're not going to flow in an order. It's not going to be very linear, chronological, no, any of that. What's the word I'm looking for? I guess that would be it. Anyway, they're not. It's going to be like you watch a series on TV, and how many of them do never go backwards, go backwards in time. Plus, things may change. These are hypothetical, fictional. They might not fit. And this helps me just to get it organized by doing, like rough draft recordings. I call them rough draft recordings. And helps me to organize and think and see what fits, see what doesn't fit. And I'm learning not to use ages. Things like ages or numbers, because, too hard to fit in since things change. Most of these start back in 2020, early 2020, but keeping track when you have around 200 characters, not easy. Even though it's written. I'll talk to you on another video. I'm wrapping it up.